Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the June the 11th meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Denison. Looks like we are about halfway through the year. So where's time gone? The older I get, the faster it goes. But it's our custom to begin our meetings with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to join us this morning, I would ask that you would stand with us now. Father, we come to you again grateful for the opportunity together today to resolve the business of our community, our city that you've blessed us with a home. We ask that you would be with us, our decisions, be with each one that's here. In Christ's name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Again, thank you all for being here with us this morning. We appreciate the effort that you made to come down. Just to give you a little housekeeping rules this morning with the Planning Commission. We are a recommending body. So all of the cases that are on our agenda today, with the exception of plats, replats, and site plans, which our decisions on those are final, will be passed on to City Council for final approval, which will be on their next meeting.
Tentatively June 17th.
June 17th. So there you go. On our public hearing cases this morning, we're going to give you the opportunity to come forward and speak on behalf of that, either for or against. We will impose a 3-minute time limit, ladies, this morning on our speakers. Would ask that when you come to speak that you would come to the lectern, if you would give us your name and your address for the record. And that being said, we're going to move into our meeting. And we're going to go to item 3, which is our consent agenda. Anything on the consent agenda that the Commission would like to address separately? You know? I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, let's move into item 4A. Ms. York?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Item 4A, bear with me just a second while I read this. Receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation on a request to rezone a plus or minus 154.70 acre tract of land being identified as GCAD property ID numbers 109711, 109722, 109723, and 109766. And being generally located in the northeast corner of Texoma Drive and State Highway 91, from the agricultural zoning district and the multifamily MF2 residential district to a planned development overlay district. And additionally, initially zoning a 52.52 acre tract of land being identified as GCAD property ID numbers 109713, 109718, and 439828, and being generally located corner of Texoma Drive and State Highway 91 to a planned development overlay district with the base zonings of single-family 7.5, single-family townhomes, multifamily residential MF2, light industrial district, and commercial district for a combined total of 207.22 acres to allow for a mixed-use development. Case number 2024-016 PD.
Okay.
This is an aerial view of that subject property. Just for reference, to the south are the Lakeview and Heritage Apartments, and to the north is Kwikset, or what used to be Kwikset, I guess. Currently, the property is zoned agricultural and MF multifamily 2, as well as portions of the property being located outside of the city limits. In addition to this zoning application that we've brought before you today, the applicant has submitted a voluntary annexation application to request the annexation of the 52.52 acre tract of land that you see depicted here without zoning. The applicant is pursuing a rezone and an initial zoning of a planned development overlay district to accommodate, as I stated, a mixed-use development. These uses include single-family, townhomes, multifamily, light industrial uses, and commercial uses. This is the concept plan that has been provided by the applicant and will become a part of the PD if approved. To the northeast of the property is the single family. This property will have a base zoning of single-family 7.5. A full list of the deviations before I get too started or too far into this case, a full list of the deviations is provided as backup within this packet. I will state that they are very minimal. The applicant has or would like to adhere to the base zoning district as they exist or may be amended in the future as much as they possibly could. So to that, northeast corner is single family. They have a major access from Armstrong Avenue. Potential other access points will be provided depending on how the property is developed, and those will be conducted in phases. As I stated, the base zoning district is single family 7.5. Minimum lot size is the same as what's in the base zoning district. Minimum front yard is 20 feet, including the garage setback. All parking is 2-car garages. And as I stated about the phasing, multiple points of access will be provided for life and safety reasons. I will state that there are architectural standards that are built into this PD for every single use, and those are within the PD if you choose to take a look at them. To the south is where the townhomes will be developed. Base zoning district is the townhome zoning district. They also have architectural standards that are provided. There is a clause within the development's PD development standard document that states that parking can be utilized via an alley or in the front. It was staff's recommendation to try and utilize the alley, and there is a caveat in the document that states that if an alley is used, that the front yard setback be 10 feet or is allowed to be 10 feet. Multifamily is located towards the west of the property. These are split into two tracts of land, one being about 35 acres and the other being about 8.5 acres. The max number of units for this property is 450 for that 35-acre tract and 160 for the 8.5 tract. This is below what's required by the base zoning district, so that is a cap on those units that you see before you. The multifamily also has architectural standard requirements, and the amenities will be based off of the base zoning district: pool, park, etc. Your light industrial zoning that is located on the northern side of the property, that also fronts on State Highway 91, has specific allowed uses. It was the intent that a boat storage, recreational vehicle storage, or self-storage be utilized. However, there are a couple of other uses that are built into the PD to accommodate kind of a lake-style life, where there's a boat repair shop, and then a brewery or distillery, and then a building materials sale allowance, office, landscape, nursery, those kinds of things. There is an additional buffer anywhere between the light industrial and residential uses as well. And your commercial, right there at that hard corner of 91 and 84, or Texoma Drive, adheres to the commercial zoning district standards, given a little bit of an allowance for a smaller parking requirement if the developer at that time presents to staff and staff approves that lower parking requirement. And there are also architectural standards built into that zoning district as well. There is as you can tell from the concept plan, there's a major floodplain that goes through this property. The applicant is proposing passive and impassive open space, as well as trails all built throughout, and that's part of the document that is before you. They are dedicating, and this is not in the standards, but it is in my staff report, they are dedicating approximately, minimally, this is the minimum number, 45.56 acres to the entire development for open space. The townhome ordinance and the multifamily ordinance requires a specific percentage of open space that they are also adhering to, and we calculated that that would be about a little less than 12 acres, so that will go into account with that 45 that they are proposing. Staff does recommend approval of the request. This area is designated as neighborhood. However, given the uses to the north and the uses to the south, staff feels like this is an appropriate zoning district to approve, and so therefore we are recommending approval of the request. And that is a pretty broad overview of those development standards, so I'm present for any questions you may have. and so is the applicant.
Okay. Questions of staff?
Yeah, I have one. So when you annex property in like that and doing a development that's a pretty material zoning change, what do you typically do around traffic and traffic surveys and study? Because obviously that's gonna make that area a lot more congested than it is today, so what's
Sure.
the
So,
process there?
in addition to, so the zoning is kind of the first step. Upon a zoning approval, the applicant will have to provide a traffic impact analysis or a traffic study for that location, and that will be required at preliminary plat and reviewed by our staff as our engineering staff. And depending on what TxDOT recommends, is what the developer will have to do. And
So
of
at that
course.
point, it would state whether it needed lights, more lanes.
Correct, and
whatever.
staff will also be looking at that and determining what necessary improvements need to be conducted in order to make that area safe.
Okay.
The city just had to provide the MPO and TxDOT with our priority areas. This is one of them because of the development coming, as well as the building of a new middle school just below 84. So we recognize that we all have to be working together and on the same page to handle that. The speed of traffic there, making sure things are set back enough to add those turning lanes, those decel lanes and things like that. So TxDOT is very much aware of what's happening, and we've also submitted that in writing, and then that'll go to the state and things like that.
Okay, great, because that's a pretty material change. All right.
Diane, how many acres of that floodplain are there in there?
That would probably be a good question for the applicant. I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah, do you know how many of the acreage that you're proposing?
No,
for open
not yet.
space? No.
Let's let him come first before we ask him questions. Any other questions of staff?
Oh, one more. The existing multifamily that's in the currently zoned, how many acres is the existing multifamily that's there?
I don't know. To be honest, we are just rezoning the whole thing to the PD. I don't know if the applicant has that, the meets and bounds of that zoning district. We do not have that meets and bounds of that zoning
And so
district.
it's zone ag, of course, right now,
Mhm.
and then what we're annexing will come in as ag whenever they
No.
do come in.
No, that's what this is. This is a recommendation for the initial and the rezone of the property. The annexation will precede this item at council, and upon annexation approval, council will take action on the zoning.
And how does it compare to our master plan, what it's projecting?
So this area, per the future land use plan, is designated as neighborhood, which is probably not appropriate, given that State Highway 91 already has lots of light industrial and commercial uses on that corridor area. However, the neighborhood designation does work for the interior portion of this property with the single family, the townhome, and the multifamily.
I have a question regarding the sewer taps. Where's the nearest sewer tap access for this development?
I should know, because I have, we've talked a lot about this area over here. I honestly couldn't tell you. I can tell you where the water is, and the water's on that northeast corner
Okay.
of 91.
I was just curious
Yep.
where it currently lies, and if it's gonna require any additional sewer access. Because that's a pretty high density based on what it currently is, even though there's light industrial and some multifamily surrounding it. I was just curious.
I know that the water has to be upsized, and extended, and I'm sure the sewer will have to be extended as well, but I think that I just don't know where it is to even speculate.
That's okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? All right, would the applicant like to come forward? Name and address, please.
Sure. My name's Josh McKinney. My address is 1130 Vagabond Lane, Plymouth, Minnesota. I'm a representative of the applicant today, and we're excited to present this PD opportunity and really appreciate working with staff members to kind of come up with what you're seeing today, and appreciate their feedback in doing so. So there's a couple of things that when we set out and tried to, or we're kind of putting together this development, we were really focusing on trying to lump uses adjacent to other like uses. So for example, put the multifamily, in the adjacent area of the other multifamily to the south, put, industrial use, in this case storage, and nearby to other adjacent similar, and then take what we think is the kind of more or less the more beautiful area of the site and use it for, because of rolling hills and amount of trees, and use that for single families so we can preserve as many trees as possible. The other thing we're really focused on is obviously we're limited with the development what's possible within the floodplain, but instead of, kind of turning our back on it, we're gonna use it as an amenity. And the amount of green space in this type of development, I think, is abnormal for a PD relative to its percentage. So we're excited about it. We think actually that our users or, our future, sub-developers for each individual piece of this are really gonna value that open space as an amenity itself. So that was really the goal. And I guess just to answer a couple of your initial questions, I believe the floodplain, could be off by a few acres here, was like 53 acres.
Of floodplain.
Correct.
And your open space that you're presenting to us to offer is how many?
40, I think it's 43.
Is that in addition to the floodplain?
Some
or?
of it's within the floodplain, some
Okay.
of it's not. Yep. Regarding the zoning area, I want to say that was like the MF2, I think is 7.5, if I recall.
On the acreage, okay, thank you.
And then the sewer is going to be we're going to take access from the south. And so that'll need to be extended up, and you're correct, it will probably need some sort of additional sewer study. So we're, this is certainly, we've put a lot of thought into this, but we're really early in this process in terms of, we need to engage engineers, floodplain studies, doing all the other information to kind of make sure that what you're seeing here today can be executed in a fashion that we would like it to be. So, certainly look forward to working with city staff in doing so. And with that, I guess I'd stand for any additional questions.
Any questions of our speaker? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Okay, I have 4 letters of opposition. Are those folks here today? Okay. 2? Okay, do I have Mike and, is it Lanil? Okay, so you guys are here, and then what about Andrew? Is he here? You're Andrew? Okay. Is Mike here? Okay, but you, all right. And then Teresa? Okay, cool. All right, instead of reading these, I'll just let you guys come forward and you can present your testimony, okay? Yes, we'll open the public hearing up, I'm sorry, my bad.
Good morning, my name is Lanil Meza. I'm at 2201 North State Highway 91. And what you've already addressed that I'm very appreciative of is the traffic congestion at the intersection of 91 and 84. There are numerous wrecks there. Some police and ambulance are called, and some I just hear the screeching and clanging of metal, and they trade information and go on. So with that, there are, in that whole area, there is a lot of foot and bike traffic. There are the young drivers, new ones every year going out to the high school. The boats and RVs going to the lake. Whenever traffic is diverted from 75, the semis will come through there. And daily, there are numerous lost people because they pull over in front of our house to check their maps and make U-turns and do all of that stuff, be it semis or just regular traffic. So I agree that that definitely does need to be taken care of. Additional homes, and I did some numbers there. It was about 610 houses, which double that probably for the number of drivers. That is just going to be considerable congestion for that area. And so my biggest thing is that it be addressed before any groundbreaking take place, because if that's not done, then there is no way we need to have that many houses there. And I don't really know how the whole process works, but to definitely take care of the housing, or take care of the traffic and the safety of the public before new additions come in. Thank you.
Okay, you're Mike?
Andrew.
Andrew, okay, okay.
Hello, my name is Andrew Meza. I live at 2123 North State Highway 91. We've been there, what, now, about 4 years, and like I said, they accidents on 84 and 91, I've touched some people, and thing is, this is something that you really look at. And if I'm looking at this exits as they're coming out, are you saying they would be coming out up underneath the underpass, coming around, and then get on 91?
These are just proposed access
Okay.
points.
And
It,
also, if they're gonna have like ponds or lakes or something, are you gonna have anything to keep mosquitoes out? Which I know you can. It's like, hey, because they have, they have those irrigation type things. So I was just wondering, that's another issue which I'm looking at, is all these family members moving in, you're gonna have mosquitoes. And if you don't do something about standing water, there's gonna be issues down the road. That doesn't happen now, it will down the road. But our biggest complaint, right, is that traffic. I don't wanna tell nobody, but I enjoy sitting on my porch, watching that highway. The most exciting things you get to see. And like I said, I've helped numerous people that the car break down. I'm probably getting about at least 25 gallons of gas. But I live behind it, it's just the traffic, it'd be a good time to come out and sit around about 2:45. And you can watch what happens. It's exciting. So, thank you all. Thank you.
Questions of speaker? Thank you, sir. Teresa?
Good morning, I'm Teresa Mesa, 2123 North State Highway, Denison. My husband and I came from North Carolina, and we found this piece of property, and it was great because it was still in the city, right across from agriculture, the cows and the horses and everything out there. And it was beautiful for us to sit out and look out. And, like my husband said, watch traffic. You get older in life, those are some things you enjoy. But now, I don't want to take anything away from you, sir, but it takes away from the future that I plan to be there, enjoy a small quaint town, and now with this coming, it's taken that away from me, and I just think I need to fight for that and for the people in the neighborhood. I mean, there's only 5 houses over that way, but it means a lot to us to keep this space, not have it taken away. And I don't want that 5 against and the city for to take away from that, because it's really important to me and to what I want for the next 20 or 30 years. Okay? Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. Ma'am?
My name is Valentina Massey. I'm representing me and my husband. His name's Michael Massey.
Okay.
We live at 2319 North State Highway 91, and we lived there since November the 1st of 1990. We lived there for 34 and a half years. And I think we've probably got the most to lose if this is built, because Duck Creek runs right to our front yard. So the floodplain, if all that's blocked and flooding, it's going to be flooding our entire yard. I mean, we've had it to where before, after the viaduct was put in, we had water up almost to the highway, because Duck Creek was that flooded through our yard. And we had to move all of our vehicles up to the highway, and it was like 2 inches before coming into our house. But we've lived there for 34 and a half years, raised 3 boys and a granddaughter, and we enjoyed all the cows and everything across the street and all the trees and the sunset coming up. We'll lose that view now. We won't have the sunset anymore, the sunrise anymore. And, we really enjoy living there. My husband's getting close to retiring, and, he works at Reese Foods, and he's a mechanic there, and, getting close to retiring. We want to, retire there in our home that's paid for, and see our grandkids, come over and play, and not have to worry about our whole yard being a pond. Because if that floodplain's there and they're blocking because we live right, Duck Creek runs through our yard, our front yard. And whenever they put in the viaduct, it just made all the water just come down off of it into our yard. And then it goes out underneath Highway 91 to Duck Creek, and that's what makes all that floodplain. That I'm just saying, I'm not saying we have the most to lose, but that's how
questions? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here to speak either for or against this request? Hang on just a second. Seeing none, I'll give you 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Yeah, and I guess I would just say, I would just want to respond to some of the residents' concerns, which I understand fully. I would say we are early enough in this process where I would just want to reassure, specific to the flooding, because we already touched on the traffic study or the TIA that would need to occur. We'll also need to be completing a flood study here, and our development would be required to meet both the rate and the volume of the water at our property line. So we certainly can appreciate the concern, kind of that uncertainty brings here, but the reports will be reviewed by the city of Denison and prepared by engineers. So that's, I guess, where we're wanting to be at this point. We just need to study it more, and certainly I would also like to give all these residents my business card too, so that we can keep them apprised of and updated of the situation and ask any questions if they have some in the future. So
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Anybody else here to speak on behalf of this request? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Discussion among commission. Anybody?
On the open space, I see some of the information that they put in here into the PD. And I know we can't really restrict a whole lot there, but I would like to make sure that we have some language in there that will keep the open space open to the public. Because I've seen PDs come in where they'll develop open space, but it's private and the public, the citizens can't enjoy what was put in. And I would like to see some language in there that requires that open space, if that's dedicated, always be open to the public.
Are you requesting that staff have those conversations with the applicant and see if that's feasible for them? Or are you asking for that to be a condition?
No, I think I'm asking for it to be a condition, because I just want to protect the citizens that have, or especially nearby residents. If it's going to be there, I want them to be able to at least access some of the amenities that are going to be there for the city.
Is that something that you're open to, Mr. McKinney?
Well, before you come, let's talk about what amenities are we talking about? Because, I mean, obviously, we've got amenities for the multifamily, which are private and should be. I mean, the walking trails, I'm assuming, would probably have public access. But as far as the other amenities that are within the development.
Well, I'm talking more about public access from my viewpoint, and I have seen where the PDs are brought in, and as it develops, it becomes a private area only for the residents of that neighborhood. And I've always been a proponent of making sure that anything that's given to the city in terms of open space or to meet the requirements of whatever's coming, at least having the language that it will protect the right for citizens to access that. I'm not necessarily talking about clubhouses, that kind of thing.
Sure.
for the apartments or anything. I'm just talking about the open space trails. It mentions connectivity to some of the other portions. I want to make sure the citizens can go from one point through that and through there, but unless it's in the language.
They're public streets, they're not private streets, correct?
So yes, there'll be public streets, or at this point, that's what's being proposed now. The open space and the trail system are maintained by the Property Owners Association for this development. It is not going to be a city-owned park.
Right.
So it would be up to the developer and his, if he chose to make it where it is a public accessible open space and trail area.
Yeah, and again, that's my concern. I just want to make sure if something's coming in and they're giving the open space.
They're not giving it to the city. They have not proposed giving any acreage to the city. They are providing this open space for the development as it is brought before you. They haven't asked to dedicate any specific amount of acreage in order to, in lieu of park dedication fees or anything of that nature. So this is, from my understanding and the intent behind it, this is open space for the development.
Okay, well, thanks for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
That would also require additional parking areas
It
too
would,
for
yes,
the
ma'am.
public. So that would also change the proposed site plan that's being put in front of us for the PD as well.
Yeah.
Staff would be open to having that conversation with the applicant. If he and the developer at that time want to do something of that nature, of course, we we love for people to have access to parks and open space, but that was not mentioned throughout this review period.
Okay. Here's the thing. This is already zoned light industrial.
No, sir, it is 100
Well,
and...
the vicinity is light industrial for the most part.
To the north, yes, sir. It's 152 some odd acre, 154 acres is currently zoned ag and multifamily too, and then 52 acres is unincorporated at the moment.
But what's developed around it's industrial.
To the north is light industrial, to the west is single family, to the south is apartments and undeveloped land as well,
Okay.
and then you have a cemetery to the southwest.
Because I see a need for a development like this, because I personally think we're deficient on the amount of residential areas that we have with the progress that is taking place in the county, not just in Sherman, and with the anticipated growth that we're gonna see. I think there's a need for some residential uses. To address the comments from the folks living out there, I totally understand your situation, but we can't stop progress. There's no way I can do that, and I can't tell somebody they can't use their property for a particular use to protect, your property and how you want to maintain it and keep it. I think one of the comments was made that, we have the most to lose in this situation. Actually, the people who own this property and are paying taxes on it may have more to lose than what we can see. But I'll assure you that before anything's built, there will be hydraulic studies done. So flooding and drainage will be, there's a lot of manpower, a lot of engineering, a lot of money going to be spent before it's ever graded. So you can rest assured they will address that before anything's built. Well, I can't speak on behalf of the viaduct, but I can speak on behalf of the development process in today's world, and I promise you that it will definitely be, yes, it will be looked at very carefully. So I'm sympathetic with your comments. Just understand that we are not in a position to where we can restrict growth and progress for those particular reasons. Now, as far as traffic is concerned, that's my legitimate, concern. And applicant has already addressed, and so has the city staff, that traffic studies will be done, so we'll know what's gonna have to happen. It could be a case to where, like Ms. Tate said, decel lanes and turning lanes and everything may have to be added to the mix. So, anyway, that's my feeling is I think that we do have a need for some residential, and not just single family. And one of the good things I liked about this, it's single family 7.5, so it's bigger lots and it's gonna be bigger houses built on those as well. So that's my comments on it. Anybody else have any comments?
I'd just like to add to what you have discussed, and this is not to certainly understand the concerns of the people that have been there for years, but this is just a typical area and typical of what we're going to see in the future. To the north at 91 and 75, there's a substantial development coming in there. There's a planned development eventually to the east of the high school, and so this whole area is just 5 years from now, it's going to be completely different than what it is now. And the traffic is, like I say, definitely going to be an issue. I think a lot of the flooding issues are even dictated by the state.
enforcement and everything. That's something the state has become very involved in. So hopefully those issues will certainly be addressed, but like I say, that whole area out there is really going to change. So need to keep that in mind, and hopefully it's a change for the good versus some of the other uses that could be out there.
And possibly, since this is a concept plan, it's probably gonna be altered somewhat. And,
So if I could just maybe ease, not a lot of concerns, but some, or provide at least a timeline of events after. If this is approved, the applicant has to provide a preliminary plat, the flood study, drainage study, the traffic impact analysis, and that's just for the preliminary plat, and that's even preliminary documentation. And then they fine tune those through the civil engineering plan review process, and that is where it goes in more depth, and all of the things that have to be accounted for before they turn dirt. It takes a minute to get to actually moving the dirt around, even to accommodate just the infrastructure that they need, let alone the buildings that have to be constructed. Yes, ma'am. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
We can't,
Okay.
we've closed the public hearing.
If you don't mind waiting for me after the meeting, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
And speaking, I mean, this applicant might wanna get with staff and possibly work in a parking lot, small parking area that the public could come and use the walking trails. I could see the walking trails being, a vital part to the whole community. I don't think it's a big expense for them maybe to work something like that in there to make it more attractive for,
Okay.
for everybody to
We
use.
can have that
I think Michael's
conversation.
he's got a good point on that, so. All right.
I did
There's-
have one more, just to ease my mind kind of question. So this is zoned ag right now for the most part, other than what hasn't been annexed. So if the owner came in wanting to zone the property, what would staff suggest that it be zoned as?
I think
If it
that's
was
a
just gonna be
pretty,
straight
that's a pretty broad question. We would go through the exact same, process that we already did. We'd have pre-development meetings. It should be noted that we've had, 2 pre-development meetings with the applicant over about a year and a half. And then staff has been working with the applicant for 2-3 months on the actual document itself. And so if someone were to walk into our office and say, hey, I want to zone this, I would say, what do you want? And then we would go through the pre-development process and determine if staff would be supportive of that use.
Our internal process takes time before we bring something before you.
I think that when we speak about the future land use plan and the neighborhood aspect of it, this is appropriate for that. The future land use plan, as I stated, does not account for the commercial along the major thoroughfare, which is not appropriate. It should account for that. You don't necessarily want your residential fronting on these major thoroughfare areas like 91 and 84. And so the neighborhood aspect of it is appropriate with the comprehensive plan.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right, seeing no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move to recommend the approval of the proposed request as well as the initial zoning request to plan development overlay district for the subject property to allow for a mixed-use development.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
I'm opposed.
You're opposed?
Yes, sir.
So, okay. All right, item 4B.
Item 4B, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on Lot 1R, Block A of the Rock Ridge Edition, Phase 2 being a replat of Lot 1, Block A, Rock Ridge Edition, case number 2024-053 RP. This is an aerial view of the subject property, and this is the proposed plat. This property is located outside of the city limits. It is located, or has frontage on Preston Road, and the purpose of the replat is in order to incorporate additional acreage into an existing property. As I stated, the lot has frontage on Preston Road and is utilizing a water well and a septic system. And then staff recommends approval of the request. I'm present for any questions you may have, and I don't believe the applicant is here.
Applicant's not here. All right, any questions of staff?
So it's gonna be on septic, as it is right now.
Yes.
Do our ordinance require, upon development, for it to be, when those utilities are available, are they required to connect at that point?
Not if they're located outside of the city limits. And it would be, if they were located within the city limits and they were utilizing an existing septic system, it would be the Public Works Director's discretion.
Okay. Anyone here to speak on behalf of this request? Seeing none, close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed replat.
Have a motion,
Second?
have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 4C.
Item 4C, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on Lot 1R, Block A of the JCN Industrial Park, being a replat of Lot 1, Block A of the Denison Industrial Park East Edition, Section 5, and part of Lot 1 of the conveyance plat of Lot 1, Denison Industrial East Edition, Section 4, case number 2024-054 RP. This is an aerial view of that subject property. It's just north to the PD that we were just discussing, and east of Kwikset, or whatever it is called at this moment. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it. Yeah, okay. Property is zoned light industrial. And I forgot to put the proposed replat. The purpose of the replat is to build a structure. Currently, the northern portion of the property has a site plan that's been approved by staff and is going through the civil engineering review process for that site. So any new development to the south of that development is going to have to accommodate and go through the exact same process. This lot will retain, or the proposed lot will retain the frontage on Wayne Cavanis and has access to water and sewer. With that, staff recommends approval of the request, and I'm present to answer any questions.
Okay, is applicant here?
No, sir.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of this request? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed replat.
Have a motion?
A second?
Have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 5, staff updates.
The only update I wanted to let you know about, and I may have mentioned it before, I was hoping the individuals from the public would stay in, but we were awarded a Safe Streets for All grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation. So we will be working on a lot of the issues that they've brought to our attention, such as connectivity, that walkability. There's a component for safe routes to school in there, so that particular intersection will be something that we're looking at. So that was awarded. I just got an email this morning. It's a 2 to 3 year process, and so Public Works, we're all working together on that. But we have to do some assessments on where things are missing and then come back. We're strictly for the planning grant right now, and then once we have the areas identified that we need some more infrastructure and some attention, we'll go back for the implementation grant during that next round a couple years down the road.
Awesome.
Very good.
Congratulations.
All right. Well, seeing that there's nothing else on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion with a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned at 10:44 a.m.